Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. All board members are present with the exception of Randy, who's excused. We do have our student reps from Belmont High School and Belmont Middle School. First up, there's lots of minutes to approve. So the first up is review and approval of the December 12th public meeting minutes. Oh no, public hearing minutes. No one said anything. So the public hearing, first up.
So the only thing I would add is on line 19. Should we clarify, I assume it was said, but the BES kitchen boiler, right, that's different than the bigger boiler that heats the schools.
It is different, but you talked about purchasing kitchen equipment at both schools in the previous sentence, but.
It's a food prep boiler now.
Right.
Alright.
But you can add kitchen boiler.
Would you like kitchen
Kitchen.
added? I'm
Kitchen
sure.
equipment.
I don't feel
Otherwise
strong.
it'd be $100,000 if not more,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just for the boiler.
Alright. I'm good with that.
This is up for action.
Make a motion to accept the public minutes.
Second?
All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next up is the December 12th public meeting minutes.
I know the numbers changed, but I just want to confirm, maybe with Debbie, but on line 93, that's $107. Does that sound right? I wasn't sure if that number was accurate or not.
No, it's not $107,000. I mean, not $107.
Where is it? I'm sorry.
Line 93.
I honestly don't know what it was at that point in time.
Oh, yeah.
A little over 106,000.
Like, so approximately 107,000? Okay, I'll add approximately.
Does that work? Approximately 107,000 as opposed to $107.
Yes.
Anything else?
Make a motion to approve the minutes with that one amendment.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. December 18th, public meeting minutes.
For this one, on line 46, we talk about Michelle Lewis and Kate McDonald both expressed that they were not in favor of eliminating the 5th grade from CES. Randy and I also both opposed that, and I would like our names added to the line.
I don't mind doing that, but I think it was whoever voiced it at that moment is what I wrote.
We did. Any other? Okay, it's up for action.
Make a motion to approve the December 18th public meeting minutes as amended.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next up, review and approval of the January 10th, 2024 public hearing minutes.
Make a motion to approve the January 10th public hearing minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. And finally, review and approval of the January 10th, 2024 public meeting minutes. I had one amendment. Oh, go ahead. Since I'm one, so on line 27, Sean Embry requested that the policy committee review class sizes, or that was something to that effect. I don't remember if you remember what it said, but you kicked it to the policy committee.
Yep.
So maybe on line 25, it should be Sean Embry suggested that the policy committee consider establishing recommended class sizes.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, that'd be good.
review,
Yeah. I'm good with that.
yeah.
I wasn't sure what you're getting at. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it doesn't say in here that you,
You said line 27, so I'm reading line 27.
oh, okay, read the whole paragraph, no. I was trying to figure out where it should go, but that makes a
Yeah,
lot
so it
more
was
sense.
specifically the policy committee.
Correct.
Okay, so just basically remove the board. Sean Embry suggested that the policy committee consider establishing,
Yes,
is that good?
yes. Anything else? Okay.
Make a motion to accept the public hearing minutes with noted changes.
Second?
Meeting.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
That's what I thought I heard as well. Any additional discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, the date and location of the next board meeting is February 13th at Canterbury Elementary School. We have the deliberative session the week before, and later on, we'll talk about snow date.
February 7th.
Is the deliberative session?
7th, I believe, yeah.
Yes. Okay, public communication and correspondence. Anyone from the public? Want to speak? Okay, seeing none, I believe we have a student and club or presentation.
Good evening, everyone. We are presenting our Maple Sugaring Club, led by Mrs. Spires. She brought a couple of students, Adrian, Alicia, and Austin, to share a little bit of information about our Maple Sugaring Club.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ms. Spires. Thank you very much for inviting us here today, because we're always happy to talk about our Maple Club. I did bring some students with me who have been members of the club for quite a while. So Adrian, all the way down there, Adrian is in 8th grade this year, and this is his 3rd year in Maple Club. And Austin, who's in 7th grade, and this is his 2nd year. And Alicia, who is also in 8th grade, and this is her 2nd year. And I'm also very thankful to have a student from Belmont High School, Libertad, who couldn't be with us tonight. She's a junior, but she was one of the OG Maple Club members when she was in 8th grade, and I'm very thankful that every year she comes back as a volunteer and my assistant advisor to help me run this club, so that's really awesome. As a matter of fact, she is responsible for digitizing and creating the logo that we use on all of our maple sugaring products. So we want to take the opportunity just to tell you a little bit about the club and what we're all about. We, together as a group, explore the art and science of making high-quality, 100% pure maple syrup in an environmentally friendly and sustainable manner. We are respectful of the environment and each other. We take a lot of care to make sure that we are treating our maple trees respectfully. Everyone will share in the work and rewards equally. We take the time to learn and work safely when we're using tools or performing potentially dangerous tasks. There are some parts of maple sugaring that can be a little bit dangerous if you're not really paying attention and using safety procedures. So that's a commitment that we make to each other. And that we'll work as a team, helping and supporting each other in all tasks. So very teamwork oriented. One of the things for me is that I think is great is how many times have I substituted in a class or been working with a student one-on-one and they say, I'm never gonna need this. Why do we have to learn this? Well, in addition to being a lot of fun and delicious, maple sugaring is a great way to weave in a lot of things that they learn in their core classes and say, see, this is why you need to know this. I've said that so many times. This is why you need to know this algebra stuff. This is why you need to know the science stuff. Because maple sugaring touches on a lot of these core subjects such as science. There's a ton of science, including weather and chemistry particularly. A lot of history. We do a lot of maple math. And we also touch on cooking and food safety, following serve-safe protocols. And from a business perspective, we create our maple products to meet all USDA guidelines and requirements in terms of labeling and handling. We also talk about food preservation and canning, which is kind of a little bit of a lost art, I think. And we explore the business side of it, such as packaging, marketing, profits, margins, things like that. So we do weave a lot of great stuff into the fun part of making and eating maple syrup. So in 2021 and 2022, we were largely figuring things out. The club started in January of 2021 was our first season. And if you remember, although it's hard to forget, we were just coming back to school. We had cohorts A and B after the whole COVID debacle. So we originally started meeting as a group online. And we were actually one of the first clubs, I think, Mr. Pope, correct me if I'm wrong, to actually come back because we could work outside and we could socially distance very easily. So we were allowed to come back, which was awesome. We started with 16 members, tapped 9 trees. We boiled our sap in the parking lot out in the elements with a single burner and spent most of our time trying to figure out how to keep the wind from blowing it out. But we did make enough maple syrup so that each student got to bring some home to their families. We also made enough for some of our administrators, but we didn't make a ton. It was fun. We did, though, enter the New Hampshire Agriculture in the Classroom program. Has a couple of things. They have a grant that you can apply for to give you either a reverse osmosis machine or some startup supplies or refresher supplies. So we applied to get a reverse osmosis machine, which we were granted. And the caveat to that is you have to enter into their contest, which is called the Tucker Mountain Challenge. It's a contest that's open to all schools in the state of New Hampshire from K through 12 that have some kind of maple sugaring program or in their curriculum. The challenge is to make a pint of your best syrup, and it is judged by members of the Agriculture Department, the Farm Bureau, the New Hampshire maple sugaring producers, and they judge it against commercial standards. Somehow or another, in the first year, we won first place, so we were Tucker Mountain champions in our first year out. And then I'm going to turn it over to Alicia, who's going to tell you a little bit. 2022 is a little bit different.
All right, so 2022 wasn't best weather-wise. It wasn't good for any maple sugarers at all. So for when we applied to the Tucker Mountain Challenge, we didn't exactly get first place this time, but we still got third place. And we managed to make enough maple syrup products for the team, admin gifts, and career day presenters.
Yep, and we did go on a fun field trip just down the street to Sunnyside Maples, which was really a lot of fun. Okay, Austin is going to tell you about last year.
26 club members on 2 teams, Team Blue Tuesday and Team Silver Friday. 10 trees, 19 taps installed. We tapped early and had amazing results. Sap storage became an issue. Foley took over the BMS greenhouse for the winter.
No more parking lot.
Upgraded our boiling system to 4 burners and a large flat hotel pan. Awesome field trip to
Charming Fair,
Charming Fair in
Candia.
Candia, New Hampshire. 2023 Tucker Mountain Challenge State Champions. Created DMS Bulldog Sweet and Mild Maple Salsa. Planted tree 23 on Earth Day, donated by Tanger Outlets and Belmont Landscaping. Total amount of raw sap produced, 360 gallons. Total amount of finished maple syrup, 800 ounces, roughly 6.25 gallons. Superstar tree of the season, tree 1, 61 gallons of sap. Second place tree, tree 5, 34.8 gallons of sap. Third place tree, tree 10, 1.5 gallons of sap.
So our third year out, we also won the state championship. So we've been participating for 3 years. We've been state champions twice and finished third place, so top 3 finishes every year. All right, so 2023 was a great year for us. This is sort of the our rewards. And not only did we make enough for everybody got to take home twice the amount that we have in the past. Also, everybody got to take home our Bulldog Salsa, which was a big hit. And we supplied the Career Day presenters with that in their gift bags. Mr. Pope also went to a job fair, and he took some of it with him to entice some potential candidates. And we still had a lot left over, so we were able to sell the products that we had left over and earn an additional almost $800 for the club. So in addition to winning the $1,000 prize for the Tucker Mountain Challenge, we also earned $800, which was pretty cool. All right, so Adrian is going to tell you where we're headed this year. We started our club up in December. We're making all the preparations to tap this year. So take it away.
This year we have 24 club members, Team Blue on Tuesdays and Team Silver on Fridays. This year we also added 14 new trees to our program, more than double, 33 taps in total. We upgraded our sap storage capacity to 275 gallons in a large storage tank. We are also this year building a DIY vacuum filter system for the syrup. We will be adding bottle options in 4 ounces, 8 ounces, and 12 ounces for syrup. We will be making Bulldog Salsa again this year and considering adding another product, maple barbecue sauce, or maple fudge, our candidates.
Those are on the table.
We are also planning a field trip in March for Maple Month, and signed up for the 2024 Tucker Mountain Challenge.
So all great things for this year. And just a little sample of our spreadsheet. We have a massive spreadsheet where every year we go out and we measure all of our trees to make sure that they're growing and that they're doing well. Everything that's shown, it looks kind of like a pink color up there. Those are all brand new trees that we're tapping for the first time this year. So that's really exciting. The trees that are in white are our legacy trees that we've been using, and then the one little tree in green is our brand new tree that's way too little to tap at this point. Named 23 because he was planted in 2023. All right, so that's, I think, it for our little presentation. Does anybody have any questions for us?
With all your additional storage, are you increasing your boiling capacity?
So, no. So we've been kind of on the fence. Mr. Pope and I have had a lot of conversations about what we look like in the future. Getting actual boiling arches and the official sort of commercial equipment that would be an upgrade for us is very, very expensive. Also, when we talked about this in the past, part of this, at least for me, I grew up doing this with my dad. And so part of it for me was to show kids how to make maple syrup with stuff they have at home. They can do it in their own backyard. Not too many people have a $25,000, evaporator at home. So we've been trying to use, things that most kids would have at home or access to. The other piece of that is, the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, we've been doing pretty well with our system. So we'll see. We might have a lot of growing pains this year for that.
Yeah, I just know if you're collecting it and storing it, you gotta boil it off.
Exactly, quickly.
Within a reasonable amount of time.
Quickly, yep.
Because we'll be collecting for you again, if you want it.
Yes, so we also started a tap at home program that the Ekbergs have so graciously participated in for the last 2 years. We have some tapping equipment in storage downstairs that is not necessarily the type that I would use here in the school ground environment, but great for in your own backyard. So anybody who's interested in tapping, we would loan you the buckets and the spouts. You could tap, and if you don't want to boil it yourself, you can bring it and donate it to us, and we will add it into our mix. Kira, you were a Maple Club too. You were first year, weren't you? Yeah, I just noticed that.
Do you guys have any north-facing trees?
North-facing trees?
Northern slope trees? Because the Canadians will tap their trees in the fall, like November. I didn't know if you guys did any of that.
No, and the weather here, they have the benefit of having a little bit colder, for longer up there. But no, we don't do that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just curious from the students, like, what's your favorite part of being a part of the club?
I like running around in the snow and getting stuff.
Perfect.
Same.
I like when we actually have to put it in the bottles because everyone just gets to hang out together.
Yep, the kids do every part of it. Boiling, of course, it takes a very long time, so it's kind of a longer process. But they do all the collecting, the measuring. When we bottle, they do all that. When we make salsa, they made all the salsa last year.
When you're doing the contest, how do you, so there's only a little bit that you get to bring to the contest and enter. So how do you pick what you consider to be the best?
I think for the time I've been in it, we've normally gone with the darker gradients. I don't know their names exactly, but it's because they have more maple flavor.
Okay.
Yep.
Or you just,
Yep, so, what we've done in the past is we, keep a sample from every batch that we make. And everybody in the club gets to taste test it. We measure it, of course, by the standards, which are, we measure the density, we measure the light transference to get the grade. Clarity is also one, and then taste is the other criteria. We taste test them and we vote on which one we want to submit. So it's a group decision.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
So next time you can come back and bring us.
We would have brought them, but it's a little early.
I know, that's why I said come back, right, with some of these fun things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
good job.
All right. Next up, student representative reports. We'll start with BMS.
Okay, so for 5th grade, they did a raffle to earn money for their Camp Cody field trip. And then we didn't get much on 6th grade, but from what I understand, they're reading and writing in LA, and they've got some science projects going on.
In 7th grade, they're finishing the American Revolution unit in social studies, and earlier this month they had a field trip seeing several different plays. In 8th grade, anyone currently in Algebra 1 with an average below 2.5 is getting removed from class, and we started Night by Eli Whitney in ELA.
We have a newspaper going on still, like the Bulldog Front. And we had our school-wide student of the trimester presentation and our first trimester behavior presentation earlier this month. On January 19th, we had a dance sponsored by the PTO, and in February, we're gonna have the Valentine's Day dance sponsored by NJHS. We recently sent out a winter activities day form so that students could decide where they might potentially wanna go for winter activities day. Drama is doing a production called the Channeling Grim, and it's happening soon. And winter sports are still going very strongly and are going very well. That's pretty much all we have.
Any questions for student reps?
I just have to
Yeah.
say, if anyone has an opportunity to read the Bulldog Barks that come out, that is a great newsletter highlighting the activities of students, but also student writers. Nice work with that. Really enjoy reading that every time it comes out.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Kate. Kate provided us a report. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll just highlight a couple of things from my report. So this is my summary overall of the grading input that I've received from students. So it has generally there's 6 major things that I brought up in here. The main one that I wanted to talk about is the variation in the awardation of a 4, which we've talked about before. So my sort of recommendation for that would be, in order to resolve this issue, teachers have to find some sort of consensus on how a student is to obtain a 4. This should go beyond just defining verbs and focus on what actual work a student will be expected to do. That way teachers will be able to explain to their students exactly how to get a 4 in that class. I know that there's work happening to teachers to talk about sort of the wording behind what a 4 should look like, but for the student perspective, we really need to have something concrete. So an actual example, specific work that we would be doing, and how that would be graded. A couple other things I talked about was common language. We need to make sure everyone understands what each thing means, and that all the teachers have that same common language. Something to look at is 2.5 is currently passing, but a 3 is considered proficient. So that sort of goes in with the language bit to make that more clear. If a 3, is proficient, seems like that should be what we're aiming for, but 2.5 is passing. So that's something that's a little bit confusing. Another thing is the current translation of grades that students receive through VLAX, Hewitt, or dual enrollment. Those are all graded on a 100-point scale, so their final grade is a percentage. The way that translates into our system, obviously there's not really a great way to do it. However, the system that we have now, I don't believe, and most of the students I talk to don't agree with how it's translated. It usually ends up making their work look less, and that affects your GPA. Another thing is the maximum achievable score for various assignments. This is an issue that I know is sort of a contention point for the teachers that I've talked to. Everyone has a different opinion. So I think for students, we don't really see a reason for there to be a 2 out of 2 for a lot of things. And if you have questions about that, I can try to explain it a little bit more. And then the last thing that I wrote about is a big issue, and it's one that I understand is not necessarily solvable because it's not all on us, but I did want to mention it because there was a number of students that brought that up. And that's just that for seniors applying to scholarships to help pay for college, your GPA is being compared to that of other students without any context for your school's grading system. So that means our GPAs look a lot lower compared to other schools. Again, not really that much we can do about it, but it is a big problem for seniors, so I wanted to include it in here. Does anyone have questions I can answer?
Sean?
I have some questions,
Go ahead.
but I don't know if they're necessarily for Kate, but it's more, are some of the, like you've seen in the in the packet, the presentation, are those being addressed by the work that's being done?
Yes, yep, so we definitely can identify all of those concerns and issues that Kate's referring to in the packet, and those conversations are happening not only specifically at the high school, but across the district. So, I feel good about the progress that we've made in those discussions and trying to address those concerns. It's definitely something that has been at the forefront of the conversations, again, not only at the high school, but all the way through the elementary schools and middle school as well. So we're addressing it by all means at the building level and the district support team.
When will they be addressed? Or when will a lot of these problems be solved?
So they're currently being addressed, particularly through conversations with staff around policy. I'm hoping to have a draft policy to the internal policy committee come in the end of, I want to say the end of February or March.
Okay. Because I mean, my frustration is that, you know, I brought this up right out of the starting gate last March. We're now at 10 months, and I mean, the same problems are still being presented by, you know, by students, and the same frustrations still exist with, you know, with parents and teachers, and we've seen the surveys. And just, to me, it doesn't seem like anything's happening, but it could be behind the scenes. So that's why I asked that question.
It is, and you wouldn't have knowledge base of that, what's happening behind the scenes, which a lot is happening behind the scenes. So I'm just asking for your patience and trust the process.
And you did outline the big buckets of stuff that is going on. So I'm trusting that that work is happening.
Absolutely.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
This one's actually for Kate, but probably unfair, so you don't have to answer it. But do you get the sense, talking to students, because it sounds like you've done a lot of research and you've worked with a lot of students, but that the 4-point scale can work, or do they have like no hope that we're even going to be able to figure out a good plan?
I think for a lot of students, it's not necessarily about the numbers behind it. So I think, yes, the 4-point scale can work as long as these issues are addressed. I think that, you know, I had a couple students say, like, even if we switch to another grading system, we're still going to have a lot of these issues, especially since we're using competency-based grading. You can use that with other systems, and some of our issues wouldn't necessarily go away. So yes, I think for a lot of students, 4-point scale is fine as long as these issues are able to be addressed within that scale. If it turns into, you know, we try to fix it, the issues are still happening, then I would say, you know, maybe students would be looking at a different system. And there are students, especially like Hewitt kids, that will say, you know, it would be easier if we had a 100-point scale or if everything was all the same, but that's not the majority of students, so I think most people are okay with the 4-point scale.
I just want to say thank you for putting this together so articulately. It really brings together the work that you've been doing and kind of some of the big buckets that from the student perspective. And one thing I would like to raise to the next level, which you referenced in here, is much more complex. And I didn't think of it until it was brought to my attention earlier, months ago, but is the whole GPA. So we use the GPA, and when it goes with our portrait of a learner, colleges, nominations, Naval Academy, like those all, like, it makes sense because people put it in context. But when you say you have a 3.7 GPA, but people from other schools have a 3.98 or something, they're not apples to apples, and I don't know. I'd like administration to look at that because it would be putting our students at a disadvantage if they don't have the portrait of a learner that goes with it.
Which is part of the college application process, but not the.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for scholarships. So for those types of things, if it's part of the, again, I'm partially speaking as a parent currently going through it. So it's not been an issue in the college realm at all. But when it comes to you're applying for Lakes Region scholarships, if the, whatever it's called, I don't even know if it's called portrait of learning, whatever it is that goes with it.
School profile.
School profile.
Yeah, sorry, the school profile, I just never thought of it in that way, so. I don't know how we can,
So making sure that that profile is part of that scholarship
and they don't
application that's
ask for
submitted.
that, but I wonder if we should be sending that. But students wouldn't know, my point is, students wouldn't know to send it because they don't,
We don't have access to it. It's not something we ever see, because the school counseling
sends
department
the transcripts.
puts all that stuff in, so like if I only know about it because I asked specifically my counselor about that, because it was something I was concerned about. But most students probably don't even know that that exists, because it's not something we ever see.
So that we could work on communication that way too, particularly for juniors and seniors.
But I don't even know if that's as important if you clean up the processes, so you're not taking classes with teachers that say you can't get a 4. Well, then that hampers the students', ability to raise that GPA. If we have a consistent and fair grading process, then I don't even know if that's necessarily needed, because a GPA would be a better reflection, I would think. I could be wrong, but.
Yes, but there's a lot other schools in our area, like Guilford, a lot of high-level Guilford students, like they have a 5 as their GPA because of how their grades are weighted.
Correct.
And that's another thing that goes into it, is how our grades are weighted, that's different. And, you can't regulate that sort of stuff across districts. So even if within our school, it's really consistent, it's not necessarily
Right.
consistent with other schools.
Other questions for Kate?
That's a good report.
Thank you. It truly did, it aided in my understanding of where the students stand a lot, so thank you.
Okay. Next up is board member reports. Jeff?
Nope.
Jill?
Pass.
Mark?
Well, they've already started with
Yeah.
the maple sugaring, both my kids are involved in that, and been to a lot of, 8th grade basketball games and 6th grade basketball games, and, we struggle when it comes to basketball, that's for sure.
I volunteered, actually my whole family did, at the robotics competition. It was amazing, and I won't just say, there are lots of volunteers, parent volunteers, even in this room. We're amazing, let's put it that way. Students, volunteers, everybody across the board, got huge accolades from, other teams. And, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I highly recommend you go and experience it, at some point. I was there all day for the high school one, but we host high school on one day and, middle school on another, so. And they can always use volunteers, no experience required, and, no knowledge of engineering of any sort required. I have none, so. All right, principals reports. First up is CES. Do we have any questions for CES?
I did actually wonder what a cycle was. Do we know that? I know Erin's not here.
Where are you?
How long a cycle is? So in the first
Yes.
paragraph, how long is a cycle? Is that a semester? A trimester?
Are you looking at the literacy
Yes.
pieces? Yeah.
She's looking at that in general terms compared to tying it to a specific calendar or.
Okay, I just didn't know how long a cycle was so that we could more understand some of the goals that they're setting.
I don't have an answer for you. Length of the cycle.
Yeah, Michael, check for us.
Thank you. And then the other question I had is, for the grades that have multiple, classes, so first and kindergarten, are they using the same goals? Are there different goals for each class?
Same goals, really,
Same goals.
at the grade level.
Any other questions for CES? Okay, BES. Any questions for Mr. Hill?
For their letters, are they setting the same type of goals that CES is? That would be my only question. I don't think that is. Or are they doing goal setting in that way?
We'll find out.
Thank you.
I think he had said that they're independent of CES, just based on localized needs.
I just wasn't sure.
I agree with Mark. I believe they're setting their own goals based on grade level need.
Any other questions, BES? Okay, BMS, Mr. Pope is here, so if people have questions.
I have a question about the bulldog bark. My daughter's a contributor to that, and she's describing a fairly significant cost to publish this on a regular basis. Is those numbers that I'm being given correct? I mean, is it a pretty high dollar figure?
Yeah, those are numbers based on our, kind of working with Debbie, our cost per color copy. So they do their copying here at the school. So we've created their own account for the newspaper, and they've done some fundraising, and my understanding, Mrs. Spires is the advisor to that club as well.
Yep.
They've raised enough funds for, I think, the next 3 or 4 months, to make the colored copies that they require.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Pope? Seeing none. Mr. Finch. Questions for Mr. Finch?
How are the numbers? Is it back there?
Yes.
How are the numbers looking for the eligibility, as far as our extracurriculars go?
There's no way to know until next week.
Oh, okay,
This
so
is the
that
last,
far out.
this is the last week of the semester.
Gotcha. Yep.
So assuming that we don't have any cancellations the next couple of days, tomorrow would be the last class day, and then blocks 1 and 2 finals are Thursday, blocks 3 and 4 are Friday. And then we'll run grade, teachers need a couple of days to grade their final assessments, get that in, then we'll run the report by the end of next week.
I'm raising my hand to call on myself. Okay. So is there guidelines for when teachers have to grade work and put them into the system? So, and I'm not so much talking about, like a general summative assignment. Is there a timeline?
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly?
They're supposed to update grades bi-weekly.
Okay. Do we know if they're following that?
They're inputting scores bi-weekly, they're not required to update the standard scores bi-weekly, but that is what is in the handbook. I haven't gotten anybody communicating to me that hadn't happened, but I'd be open ears if it wasn't.
Okay.
So I think parents should know that it's bi-weekly, and if they have any concerns, they should raise them. But if they don't know what it is, then they don't know what's right and wrong.
I'm just raising it because I know I've had a couple parents outreach to me, which then I refer them to the teacher or to you, Mr. Finch, around particularly when it comes to an eligibility check, coming up on an eligibility check. If lots of grades on the standard come in at the last minute, and it puts them below eligibility. So I was just asking for clarification, and I agree, it would help, I think, if parents knew, kind of what those are and.
The general expectation.
Yeah, just to, cause I think there's a dual expectation, right? Expectation of the students, the families to follow up, and then also for the teachers to put the grades in
Right.
timely.
Now, obviously, the amount of time between submission of work and the posting of scores is gonna be significantly dependent on what the assignment was.
Correct,
You know, if
absolutely.
there's some big, long research paper, it's gonna take, longer. But teachers should be updating evidence scores bi-weekly.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? There's lots of exciting things happening at the high school, the middle school, and both elementaries. So I always say this, but I love the pictures, I love the social media posts. I just think we should do even more of it. Not that y'all have the time to do that, but I think it's great.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Okay. Next up, renovation expansion of CTE.
As you can see in your packet, I included an agreement that Michelle has to sign as the chair for Winnisquam Regional School District that's doing a major renovation on their CTE center. This is a template document that comes from the Department of Education, basically outlining the state's requirements, fiscal requirements, as well as the school district's requirements. As I said in here, there are no fiscal responsibilities for this construction project for our district. It's just a matter of, in order for them to meet the requirement of signing the document, they have to have the chair of every sending school district sign it. So I'm just asking the board to authorize Michelle as the chair to sign this document.
Is there a timeline for how long it'll take?
The project, I believe I don't want to state, I think it's a little over a year for the renovation to happen.
Will students still be able to take courses
Yes.
through?
Yeah.
If there are these improvements made, I understand we're not paying any money right now, but will it up our tuition costs later on?
Not necessarily at this time. But there's always.
How does it work? How does tuition work for them if you at middle school? Do they just?
It's based on their cost per pupil.
Yeah, it's their cost per pupil, it's like a tuition.
Right. And then we're responsible for 25% of that, the state is supposed to pay 75%.
But it's based on.
But then if the state does not have enough money, then we get a bill for the difference.
So it'll vary based on the cost per pupil. I would anticipate that we're gonna have more students attend because they have 2 additional programs, one in manufacturing and one in cosmetology. So the cosmetology has been a void in the Lakes region in CTE world. And I think it's gonna draw some opportunities for our students
And when would that start?
once the
This-
renovation is complete.
Okay, so it'd be,
Yeah.
so it's not starting this
No.
summer. Okay,
Do we need to make a motion to that?
board chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
any discussion? I only had a question, does it really have to be notarized?
Yes?
Okay, that's fine. All right, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, BHS STEM trip to Europe, itinerary adjustments. There's a report in your packet. How many, students are now going on the trip? Didn't say that.
I believe it's 7. There was, it sounded like there was at least 1 or 2 considering joining the trip now, that it was a little bit cheaper, and they were going to multiple locations. So really the reason that I submitted this is that the board had approved the permission to plan and permission to travel, but because the numbers didn't get to the full group, I wanted the board to be aware that they had approved a trip that's gonna be different than what looks like it's actually gonna happen. So it probably will be fewer students than anticipated, but still a group of students who'd be excited to go. Visiting 3 different, instead of 1, instead of just going to London, it actually varies the trip a little bit, and it includes still going to London, but this is a little bit different adventure than what they had originally anticipated.
This is up to action.
Yeah, so just, we need a motion to approve the itinerary adjustments for the VHS then.
I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the itinerary for the 2024 Europe trip.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries.
On that note, did we see a planning approval for Galapagos trip to the high school?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
Sounds familiar.
Yes.
Okay,
Spanish trip.
yeah, Spanish and science.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's one in conversation right now too, very similar situation.
Okay,
So you may be, and I've already had a conversation with Senora about almost the identical conversation with different trip, with a number of students participating, not necessarily being enough. All these companies are making very business-specific decisions right now and dumping trips that they're not, totally filling up. So she was doing a little bit of work on that and was gonna get back to me in terms of whether adjustments would be recommended. So if that does turn out to be the case, I'll bring another one to you so you can see what the recommendation would be.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, buildings and grounds update is in your packet. I don't know if anyone has questions. I don't know when buildings and grounds meets again, but February 13th. All right, Debbie.
Just a couple of things that I've put in your packet, accepting a grant and then setting the deliberative snow date.
Okay. No other then,
No.
so I can check update off.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, flexible seating grant.
Debbie, what is flexible seating?
Yeah. I was like.
So it's buying different pieces that'll afford the children different ways of how they wanna sit, like one of those ball chairs or.
Oh, thank you.
Giving students options in the ABLE program.
Thank you.
Make a motion to accept the NHASP Foundation grant in the amount of $500 for the BMS flexible seating.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We need a snow date for the deliberative.
Hopefully not, but it would be better to set one. Last year we set it for the day after.
February 8th?
Okay.
I am too.
That's not ideal, but I think I can make it work.
Well, it's not gonna be
Snow
canceled,
day.
so it's just a snow
All
day.
we're gonna say is this is our day.
Yeah, I mean, unless we wanna have it on Friday, the 9th, right? We have to have it by
Friday
the
the
10th.
9th or Saturday the 10th, it has to be done by Saturday.
It's not ideal, but I can make it work.
Can't do
It's
Saturday.
Thursday.
Okay, the 8th as snow date, okay.
So based on that, I have all of the forms, the warrants, and the MS-26s and the default budget for y'all to sign, so we can get these posted.
Okay.
Do you put the snow date on there?
That's why,
So if we set the 9th,
I would have had to do some changing, log in.
She was pretty sure we didn't want Friday night. I'm just guessing.
that's when we used to do our annual meetings.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, your report.
Have a school calendar for you to approve this evening. This is in line particularly with Laconia School District for our Hewitt students.
Jeff, if you take the clip off, then I'll staple it.
Been vetted through the SREA as well as our building administration. Looking for your approval this evening or answer any questions prior.
Are there any notable changes from the current year?
The notable change is that we do not have 3 teacher workshop days to start the school year off. We only have 2 because we have the state primary on September 10th. That will be a teacher workshop day. So that's something that we normally would have.
Have you ever considered, just looking, I know in September, it's like, I've been the parent on the other end trying to arrange daycare and stuff. Have we ever considered having just high school be remote and the other schools be in session? For voting day, because it really only affects one school.
Not necessarily because CES also is a voting location, like today is a prime example. So it's both BHS and CES. No anticipate, it's usually because if we're anticipating a larger crowd, CES becomes a voting place. So I'd say both of those schools will be there. We discussed that for this coming January 20, today's, when we had to change the calendar for today.
Right.
And if it was just the high school, we
Yeah,
were gonna
I'd rather
consider that by all
cover it.
means, but we had CES as well. The other notable change, however, is that April vacation is the last week of April into May. That's somewhat different than this year. And that is based off the New Hampshire recommended calendar.
What's our attention interest?
Yeah, so like,
What's our calendar?
most of the school districts all use that same
Yeah.
recommendation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's because of the way it falls.
Yeah. So April vacation is gonna seem a little late in the month compared to what we've had in the past.
Get rid of that February and April, do 1 week in March, and then get out a week early in June. I think, what was it, 20 some odd years ago, Concord tried to do that? And there
People
was a huge
revolt.
revolt, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of New England,
I
that's what
know,
everybody else does.
I know,
Impacts the ski industry if you do that.
but that's, yeah. Okay, so this is up for action.
Motion to approve the 2024-25 school year calendar.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Thank you.
abstention, motion carries. Anything else, Michael? No. Okay, on the horizon.
I actually have a note from Randy. She apologizes that she could not be here tonight, and although this is not an annual item, she wants to propose adding an agenda item to our February 13th meeting to discuss the findings and recommendations from the minority report for the withdrawal study committee.
the other thing we talked about, I don't know where it goes, but Michael, you were gonna, it was related to strategic planning. I think you were gonna give us something. About, so I don't know,
Some of that.
Yes, I was just gonna.
March
raise-
12th.
Yes, March 12th.
Oh, it's, no, sorry, strategic leadership, never mind.
I thought that was in March as well. No, we talked about bringing forward a proposal of
right,
a revision to our current strategic
correct.
direction.
So I
Yes, we
just
did look at
wanted,
that.
it should go somewhere.
Yeah, probably tackle that in March.
Okay.
12th.
Anything else? Okay. Deliberative session prep.
So,
Everybody all set?
Steve and I met with Sumner, we're gonna be set up in the cafeteria. We're going to have it so the moderators onto the side with the board on one end and the chairs for the audience on the other, so we'll have a microphone that people can come up and that way they can kind of see both. We'll have the voting booths in the back of the cafeteria and go from there.
Okay.
We'll use the cards because we don't really have a place to separate non-voters. I think we're in the cafeteria, so we're gonna have index cards.
Okay. And he runs the meeting.
He runs
so
the meeting.
We don't present anything.
No, the only thing, you know, he'll read the warrant and then typically a board member will make a motion to move it and then we get somebody hopefully in the audience to make a second. And then, you know, then it can be opened up for discussion.
That's his preference. Well, the board members don't typically move.
We
it.
haven't done that before.
I think.
Used to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the motion, he needs a motion after he reads it.
Even the last 2 years.
People in the audience have jumped in doing
That's what I
first,
thought.
yeah, but if nobody does a first, then
Yeah.
usually it's a board member that will do a first.
So, what are we preparing for the budget, the operating budget? Anything?
You don't do a presentation, just if anyone has any questions.
A statement or a paragraph, or, like, I thought for the warrant articles, you have to, if we're signing up for a warrant article, we should probably,
It's only if you have any questions. That was the public hearing, was when you explained
yeah.
the board's position.
But
If
it just
someone
feels
has a-
like in years past, there's a little bit of confusion as far as whether we were saying anything or nothing at all.
Yeah, generally, it's only if you have a question.
We chose to do it with, I remember just a couple of times, we did it with the CBA, we did it with, that's the main thing we've done it
I just wanna make sure I'm clear that he's not expecting us to give
with.
a
Right,
No,
blurb.
And we prepared the deliberative session book from the public hearing book, so all the information is in that book.
and it's posted on the website, the slideshow from the public hearings on the website.
It will be. We haven't determined the snow date tonight, we'll get all that stuff out.
Sure, I'll think of something afterwards.
okay. All right, and he's familiar, like, he's gone through his training and
Yep, he went to the
Okay.
training, yep.
just making sure, cause it does help to know clarity what our role is, cause I haven't always felt as clear.
Yeah.
Not from you all, but just different moderators handle it differently.
And certainly if you did a warrant article, you should have your paperwork from the public hearing, in
Right.
case you get
A question.
asked
Yeah.
out of the blue, can you just say a few things about what this warrant article is about?
Yeah.
Then I can stand up and say it.
The seating's a little bit different because he will be at one end. And usually he's been in the middle between the board members, but he's gonna actually be on one end, so the attorney probably closer to him in case there's a question that he needs to, refer to the attorney for.
Okay. Enrollment report.
So you can see, as of January 1st, our enrollment is at 1,122 students. That is 4 students fewer than the December report.
Okay. Is pre-K split up because it's morning and afternoon? Okay, that's what I thought, I just wanted to check.
Any other questions? Okay, volunteer list.
Make a motion to accept the volunteer list with the noted exceptions.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, there are Appendix B nominations in your packet. I think there are 2. And then, yeah, there are 2, so we can do those. If nobody has questions that are of a personnel nature, we can approve them in public.
Make a motion to accept the Appendix B nominations.
Second.
Any non-personnel related questions? Okay. All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Next up is any other public communication or correspondence. Anyone from the public want to bring anything up to the board, discuss anything?
So in the middle school, I've been noticing a pattern in the clubs and extracurriculars, which is everything seems to be crammed into a Wednesday, including sports and all types of extracurriculars. That way, students like me who want to do more than one extracurricular can't pick because of this scheduling problem. Nobody can actually do anything other than one club or anything. And days are literally empty. So Tuesdays, for example, and Mondays literally only have 1 or 2 things going on. Meanwhile, on Wednesdays, almost everything is going on.
Okay. Can you tell us your name?
Sarah.
Okay. From Belmont or Canterbury?
Yeah, Belmont.
Okay. So, you would like other offerings
Yeah,
on different days?
Yeah, I think that not cramming everything into one day would be beneficial for students.
Okay. Mr. Pope?
Hi, Sarah, why don't we chat tomorrow?
All right.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right.
Perfect. That's what I was hoping would happen. So hopefully, Mr. Pope can address your concerns, certainly, so that you can have perhaps some more options with days and such, so. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Sarah, for coming here. We appreciate it.